Hello everyone! It's been a super hectic week for me thanks to the Black Friday sale. If you are still interested, you can snag some great items until December 4th with a 25% discount using promo code CYBER2024. Just head over to my Etsy store. I will include the link and the promo code in the description below. So let's talk about this week's video. A couple of days ago, I happened to receive an order from a wholesale market. So I'm taking this opportunity to create a tutorial for you. The order includes a few Huggy hoop earrings in different finishes, but for this video, I will specifically show you how to make a 23 millimeters in diameters hammered hoops. These are pretty straightforward and surprisingly super fun to make, a definite classic that everyone can and should try. For those of you who prefer front-facing hoops in Goldfield, I have already shared the tutorial on that in my previous video. You can find the link in the top right corner of the screen, either this or this. And if you're not inclined to go back right now, and I totally understand if you want to keep watching, wink wink, I'll also include all the links in the description below. Okay, let's get to work.
This is the material needed to make a 23 millimeters diameter huggy hoops. I'm going to take 1 centimeter of 20 gauge wire to be the stud, and I'm going to file one side flat and this one is ready to solder for later. And I'm doing the same with the 16 gauge wire, only on one side. Next, I'm prepping my flux by grinding the borax stone on the unglazed dish. And please ignore the other things that I want to solder together with making these hoops. However, if you are curious, I may leave the link of the ring and the other size of the huggy hoops on the description below. Make sure that the flux is covering the items that needed to be soldered. I'm going to use two methods of soldering. The first method involves soldering the stud to the straight wire. So I'm setting it up using two cross-lock tweezers. One is to hold the thick wire, and the second cross-lock is mounted on the third hand. I will use this to hold the stud pin and unite these two thanks to the mechanic third hand that I can manipulate however I want. If you have watched my previous videos, you know that I like to use paste solder for the gold field. So once I know that these two components are stable, I'm applying the solder paste in between of the two wires. For the amount, around 2 to 3 millimeters works the best for me. Now it's ready to fire. Slowly point the fire to the object. On the first fire, I want to point it for at least 3 seconds before moving away. After that, maybe 1 or 2 seconds fire, then moving it away. You will get the hang of it once you have more experience in soldering, so don't worry. It should be quick, but today I find it difficult to solder these two together. I notice also during the cold weather, the soldering works takes extra time. Does it happen to you? Let me know in the comment below if it does. Now let's visit the second method. The forging is done before soldering. The same technique is applied for the soldering setup. Two cross-lock tweezers to hold the two components. Then I also stabilize the tweezers by putting the weight on it. This is the weight that I'm using. I'm checking that it doesn't move very easily. And then I apply the flux again for the last time. I don't recommend you doing this though because very often after the setup, when that brush starts to touch the component, it starts to move and mess up with the setup. It happens to me all the time and I don't know why I keep repeating the same mistake. Okay, once I apply the solder paste, I turn on the torch. I'm using the same technique as before to heat the component. Start by pointing the flame at the item for 3 seconds and then directing it away. After that, alternate between pointed at the item for 1 second and then away for 1 second. And as you approach the end, when you see the gold starting to melt, you need to continue heating until it's completely melted and then turn off the flame. It's still a bit hot. Let's check for the result. This looks okay. Soak it in the pickle jar for a little bit. Now, take the already soldered pieces and fork the stick into a circular shape after the soldering. This tool, the ring maker, is very special, I think, and I would recommend you to take this. Alright, let's move on to the steps we intended to cover at the beginning of this video, which is to add a hammer texture to the gold-filled wire. I'm mounting the mandrel onto this bench pin anvil. First, slide in the huggy hoops, making sure to choose a diameter in the mandrel that is smaller than 23 millimeters, and then begin hammering. Because when you choose the diameter that are smaller, it will help the circle shape. At the same time, when you hammer, it will anyway move to a bigger diameter. So when hammering, aim to strike the side slightly from the middle towards the nearest end. So don't do it from one end or the other end, from the middle towards the other end. Continuing this process until you cover the entire surface. The reason why I say that, because the metal, it will expand and you don't want the metal to be crumpled in the middle, to be concentrating in the hardness in the middle, but instead you want to distribute the grain structure of the metal. When you are done hammering on one side, you will remove the hoops from the mandrel. I don't know why I don't have the video about this, but yes, take off the hoops from mandrel, flip it on the other side and repeat the hammering process. And finally, once you achieve the texture that you desire, lay the hoops flat on the anvil. You'll likely notice that they're not perfectly balanced, but don't worry. Use a wooden mallet to gently hammer them into balance, ensuring that there are no scratches left behind. Take your time doing this. This process takes way longer than it seems in the video. Let's do a diameter final check. It's a little bit more than 2.3 centimeters. So I'm going to make it smaller using this ring pliers. Okay, it looks better now. And last but not least, I'm going to harden the stud by twisting the stud using this parallel pliers. I just learned this method not a long time ago and I find it faster to do. Using 2 millimeters per cup, I'm rounding the edges of the stud and also the tail of the huggies. And here I'm going to quickly show you how it's done with the needle file. So you need to just take this flat needle file and move the file up and down while ensuring that you use a rounding motion to create smooth edges. For the final check, I need to ensure that the pair is completely identical. First, I'll check the thickness of the hoops. Sometimes one side can be flatter than the other side, which is not desirable. So if you see it something like that happen to you, you need to fix that. I also need to verify that the hoops have the same height at the stud position and that they share the same diameters. You will see a different texture, of course, but that's part of the charm of handmade items. So that's it. This is the final product. I had a great time also experimenting with different textures and sizes. Here are the photos of the varieties, and they're all available on my Etsy shop, which I will link in the description. Don't forget there is a Black Friday sale offering 25% off. I might regret this later, but it's okay since the sale only lasts until December 4th. So if you don't feel like making your own huggy hoops, you can take advantage of the sale.
What do you think of these earrings and the workload? Pretty easy, right? If you ask me, this is the hardest finish because of all the hammering needed to create the texture, but no pain, no gain, right? Hopefully, this will encourage you to experiment more with different elements. For example, you can use silver, copper, and also the yellow gold field. So, the size, the shape, and even using different wire thickness. And by the way, I have experimented with making the same style of earrings using two different thickness. I will put the link here on the screen or in the description below. Okie dokie, I'm signing out. I have still plenty of work to be done. Please click like and subscribe and turn on the notification bell for more videos. I'm C from CBJU Studio Diaries. Happy crafting and until next time, goodbye.